It's pretty darn good. Grayson Saunier went 4 innings, scattered 4 hits. 2 of those, I think, in his time in the game belonged to Dakota Jordan. He walked 1 and struck out 2 through 71 pitches, so fairly efficient. Probably would prefer him to be around 60, 65, so, about where he needs to be. And for Mississippi State, Pico Kahn, 4 innings, 4 hits, 1 earned run. It was a solo home run. The ball was really hit, too. Judd Utermark that is a big ballpark. There were a couple of balls that were hit to the outfield. I was like, nope, not in this park, and he got all of it. Pico Kahn was really good. Struck out 5, only threw 55 pitches. Very efficient. Leaves with a 1-0 ball game. And Gunnar Dennis came into the game for Ole Miss, works an inning. He gave up 1 run. It's fortunate there was only 1, but gave up the 1 earned run, and that made it a tie game, so 1-1. After Pico Kahn, Mississippi State turned to Carson Ligon. That is a hard-throwing dude.
Yeah.
Inning and 2/3, 2 strikeouts. First 2 batters he faced, hey, Dad?
I think that's correct.
Or first 2 batters of the second inning that he was in. Maybe it was, whatever, doesn't matter. 2 strikeouts, 2 walks in an inning and 2/3. Ole Miss got a scoreless inning out of J.T. Quinn, the 6th inning. Mississippi State turned to Cam Schulke. He worked an inning, struck out 2, walked 2, and then was pulled. Josh Mallitz worked a scoreless inning, gave up 1 hit. Trying to figure out where we are I'm doing this like alternating pitcher thing, and I'm not sure I'm exactly on the right track on where we are in the game. Tyler Davis came in and over an inning and a third had 3 strikeouts, did not give up a hit, did not allow a base runner in the 4 outs that he faced. Ole Miss turned to Mason Morris in the 7th inning. It was the 7th inning it was the 8th inning. So Mason Morris comes in, and he gives up a couple of earned runs with a walk, a strikeout, a hit batter, and a wild pitch. So the 8th inning is when it unraveled for Ole Miss. Rebels missed some opportunities at the plate throughout the course of the game, left a bunch of guys on base. But that 8th inning, it was the, here it is. Here's the point where it kind of falls apart, when Ole Miss wasn't able to add to the lead. So, Morris starts the 8th. He strikes out Hunter Hines to start the inning. Pretty good start to the inning. And it's really good considering that at the end of the 7th, Mallett's got a strikeout of Dakota Jordan on the heels of David Mershon lining into a double play. So, good stuff happening on the mound.
By Furness on that.
It was really good. But then Connor Hyzak hitting the head on a 1-1 pitch. And it was back-to-back pitches that were up and in. I mean, it wasn't intentional. It was like he just lost the feel. So he gets to first on the hit by pitch. And then Mason Morris uncorks a wild pitch. Hard one to block. Birch can't block it. Not a hard one to run after full speed after it gets past you. Birch didn't do that. You know who was running full speed? Connor Hyzak. So now he's standing on third base.
Isn't that moment right there a perfect encapsulation of the difference between those two baseball teams? It's a bottom of the 8th, one game, tie game, bottom of the 8th. Both teams need a win for different reasons, but Mississippi State needs to win if they want to host a postseason game. Ole Miss needs to win if they want to make the postseason. High stakes, rivalry game, all that. One team had a player that on a relatively routine play, ball gets past the catcher most of the time, 9 times out of 10, you're only getting second. But he decided when that ball got by the catcher, I'm going to make sure that I am ready to make a play if the opportunity presents itself. and he is hightailing it down to second base, just in case. Most of the time, it's a waste of energy, but guess what? Not for Mississippi State baseball. On the other side, ball gets past the catcher. He doesn't see it initially, but when he does find it, Bull Durham lollygags over to the baseball and gives up 2 bases in a tie game in the bottom of the 8th inning. And that is why Mississippi State is where they are at the moment, among other things. And that is why Ole Miss is where they are at the moment, among other things. But that was a perfect encapsulation of those 2 teams in the season that they've had.
A run scored on a hit batsman, ball gets away at first, 2-base error, and then a double play ball that should have been a double play ball and wasn't. That is the perfect encapsulation of Ole Miss this season to this point.
100%.
And that is just what they've been this year.
Hyzak gets to third. Amani Leary walks on 4 pitches. Pitching change. Mike Bianco goes out to make the pitching change. He's like, yeah, you're out of the game. And then he proceeds to light into Eli Birch for the next 30 or 45 seconds until the pitcher gets there. And then Kohler hits into a fielder's choice. Guess what? Mm-hmm. If Hyzak's standing on second, he's not scoring on that play, and it's a double play ball. Mm-hmm. You can't just assume that they get that, but that was a ball that was hit that easily could have been a double play. So there are 2 outs in the inning.
They didn't score that in error, by the way. I don't know if anybody else noticed that. Couldn't believe they didn't score that in error.
Fielder's choice, RBI.
Yeah.
Wait, didn't score what an error?
On the double play ball where it gets away at first.
You can't assume a double play. There's no error on that. Because they'd already gotten 1 out on the play.
I guess.
What?
I mean, I know that you're right, but come on. I know that by the letter of the law, you are correct.
There's literally no way in baseball scoring to assign an error on a play where you record an out.
I'm just saying.
Okay. They make another pitching change. Pulliam gets a single. Kohler's on second. They walk Powell, bases loaded. Bases loaded walk to Chance, makes it 3-1. Back to the bullpen, and then David Mershon gets the big blow, hits a double out into right, and it's 5-1, and that was the final. But man, what a night for the game. Weather was perfect. Crowd was into it. I thought there was a nice buzz in the ballpark. I did not, in fairness, say Dad, stick around to the very end of the game. I hung for 4 innings left, I think, in the 5th, and then let it carry me, the radio carry me home after that. Stands out to you about Mississippi State right now?
2 things, and I'll do a good and a bad. The good is the pitching. It's really starting to round into form. Pico Khan looks like he's a guy you can rely on a little bit on the weekends. I mean, this is the same as a weekend game, right? You're playing Ole Miss. That's an SEC opponent, and he went out there and was successful. That's 2 straight appearances from Carson Ligon where he's come out and given you an inning plus of scoreless relief. That's good for Mississippi State, just to have a guy that can do that. And then you have Davis and Harden, who Robbie Falk, my co-host, tweeted about this. At this time last year, they had thrown about 40-plus innings, and their combined ERA was over 10. This year, they've thrown 40-plus innings, and their combined ERA is under 2. They've shaved 40 earned runs off of what they gave up from a year ago. And now you've got a right-handed guy and a left-handed guy that you feel completely confident in coming out of the bullpen when you have the lead. They can close out games for you, so that's big for State. The other thing that stood out to me is that State all year long has just been up and down with the hitting. And you know, they had 10 hits. They had 11 hits in this game. The only extra base hit is Mershon's double there in the the bottom of the 8th. 10 singles prior to that. I mean, it's good to see Hunter Hines have another RBI. He want to keep him hot. Dakota Jordan with 3 hits last night. That's great. I thought he looked really comfortable at the plate, but they just can't string enough hits together at times, and that's just been the way it's been all season long. So if Jordan, if Wednesday night was a sign of things to come for Jordan, and he's going to start hitting the ball, and Hunter Hines is going to continue hitting the ball, Well, now you've really got something with the three starting pitchers, the way they're pitching right now, and what you can do with the bullpen. You got a little bit of something there, but they've got to be a little bit more consistent offensively.
I thought it was important in the first inning when Dakota Jordan came to the plate. He came to the plate with the bases empty. I agree with you. I thought he looked comfortable and like he was not trying to do too much. He hit the ball hard, but it didn't look like he was just going up there with the idea of, I've got to drive it out of the ballpark. Same thing. From an Ole Miss perspective, you're okay with giving a 2-out bases empty single up to Dakota Jordan. They did that in the first inning. They did that in the third inning. In the fifth inning, he had one on, but it was a runner at first. And then in the seventh inning, I think it was, isn't that when he struck out? Yeah, struck out to end of the inning, and there was nobody on base because the double play happened right in front of him.
Right.
So from the guy that scares you, there are two guys that scare you, right, for the opponent. Mm-hmm. And I think Mississippi State is hitting to the point where there are more guys that concern you, but there are two guys in State's lineup that scare you. Hunter Hines and Dakota Jordan, period. And I thought Ole Miss did a pretty decent job with those two. But again, hold on. Before I go to the Ole Miss, I want to go back to one other thing. The good Mississippi State teams over the last, let's say go back to 2013, that College World Series team in 2013. Could probably go back a little farther than that if you wanted to. They seem to have, regardless of how the game is going, a look about them. They carry themselves in a way that looks like they expect to win, and it doesn't really matter what the scoreboard says. They're down 4-1. They're confident they're coming back, and they don't mind in the 8th or the 9th innings pulling it out. This year's team, for much of the year, has not had that look or feel about them. Mississippi State has 5 losses this year when leading after 8 innings. So they've given away some games late this season. But they've now won 8 of their last 9 games. They got some guys that they believe they can count on out of the bullpen. They're getting pretty good starting pitching. They got some guys that can swing it a little bit. Are you starting to see that look? And you know the one I'm talking about that goes along with Mississippi State baseball. Like when they get into the postseason, it's like they're winning.
Yeah. I mean, it probably didn't hurt that Tanner Allen was there last night. Maybe he rubbed a little bit of that off on the Bulldogs because he is certainly a player that had that attitude that you're describing there. Yeah, there's some of that, and you read Jordan's comments. He said, coming back from Oxford, it was a quiet bus, and we realized we got to, and you hate that you have to have a loss to make him do that, but sometimes that's just the way it goes. I think this weekend you're going to see a little bit of that old school Duty Noble thing. I think there's going to be big crowds this weekend, and I think that it'll be interesting to see how Alabama handles it. Alabama is not a good road team either, so I think they're kind of walking into a little bit of a hornet's nest this weekend.
When you say old school Duty Noble, you're talking like 3 years ago?
Yeah, it feels older than that, though, man. It feels like it's been a longer time. Yeah.
When that place gets going in May and June, it